Good afternoon, everyone. Hello. Monday afternoon, day 10 of A Healthy Mind. It's so good to be with you today. If this is the first time that you are joining us, my name is Grant Nash from Mindful Revolution. Thank you so much for being here today, for giving yourself the opportunity to begin to think about, to practice, to ask yourself, to get the skills that one needs for a healthy mind. That's that simple, really. So like I said, we are on day 10 of this challenge, and it's been an incredible challenge, and I've thoroughly enjoyed being with you for as many days as I have been, as we slowly go through what it means to have a healthy mind, and sort of a lot of what we've been discussing last week was around stress and how we handle stress. And part of the reason why we've spoken about stress so much, obviously, is because stress and a lot of our common everyday unhappinesses, our small moments of depression, and obviously that word is a big word, but you know what I mean, those little moments of anxiety, a lot of that coming down to this idea of stress, our everyday stresses and how we handle stress. And so today we are going to continue that conversation about stress. But first, I'm going to ask you to take a moment. The name of the business that I work for is Mindful Revolution. And the reason why we are called this is because mindfulness is the real cornerstone of what we do. It's the brain gym that we spoke about on day one. That's what mindfulness is. Mindfulness grows the parts of our brain that help us become fit for purpose for 2021. That's what it does. And so together, we always start this by practicing a moment of mindfulness. And how do we do that? Pretty simply. I'm going to ask you just to be here with me for a moment, to be in this moment. And I'm going to ask you to give yourself the opportunity to just do nothing but be with me for the next 30 minutes. Now, very, very often, we've got 6 things to do, 3 things to do, 4 things to do, 9 things to do, 100 things to do. It's all happening. If we're a parent, there's a million things to do. When our kids get home, we're thinking about this, we're thinking about that. And even before we go to bed, we're thinking, we're projecting into the future, we're ruminating on the past, and we don't give ourselves the opportunity just to be here. So I'm going to ask you for the next 30 minutes, just be here with me right now. So let's do this together. Let's start by, if you're sitting on a chair, just taking your feet and putting them on the ground for me, just feeling your bum on the chair, just getting nicely stuck into and grounded into your space. And then I want you to take a deep breath in and a deep exhale out. And as you begin to do that, I'm going to ask you to just allow yourself to be here with me and yourself for the next 25 minutes. To not do anything else. You don't have to do anything else. You don't have to be anywhere else. You can just be right here with me and yourself. And give yourself that little gift. The gift of the next 25 minutes. All right. And I want you to take one last big inhale. And a deep exhale. Okay. There we go. Here we are, me and you together. Thank you for, again, giving back to yourself and allowing yourself this time with me. So let's do this. We've been speaking about stress. And when we speak about stress, we speak about 2 things that happen. We almost call it stage 1 and stage 2. The first axis and the second axis. Axis, A-X-I-S. Okay, the first axis is the little amygdala pushes a signal to the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus pushes a little button, adrenaline and a few other chemicals squirt into the body, and things begin to happen. And then a few minutes later, cortisol begins to flood the body, and a few things begin to happen again. And this is our response to things happening around us, fight or flight. And a lot of this is happening in the unconscious. By the time your brain is actually registered, or you consciously have registered that you've seen the lion, that amygdala has already started working for you, friends. That hypothalamus has already pushed the button. Your adrenaline is almost instantaneously flowing even before you've actually consciously cognized what you must do and what you mustn't do. And that's the reason why a lot of people, when they've escaped very serious situations, they tell you they weren't thinking about it. They were just in the flow. They were in the moment. And that's that part of our brain that's kicking in. The hormones are kicking in. The chemicals are kicking in. And off we go, right? We are fight or flighting in that moment. And this is what stress is. Stress is the fight or the flight happening inside of us. So now it's very good in short bursts. It helps us tremendously, but it's very damaging in long bursts. So last week we spoke about it being a superpower, and we said that from a superpower perspective, all great, with great power comes great responsibility. That's it, right? So the responsibility is not to overuse this, not to abuse the system, the superpower of stress, because then the very opposite begins to occur. We get very unhealthy, we get very sick. There's a lot of stuff that happens to us when we are chronically stressed. So what we've been doing over the last few days, we've been working on this chronic stress. Now I want to introduce you to another something that's going to help us. And this is really, really interesting stuff. So your nervous system, the nervous system, and specifically one nerve that we're going to speak about today, this has the ability to rapidly shut down the stress responses and restore biological balance into our body. And it's the cornerstone of stress resilience. It's the cornerstone of this resilience that we want to work through. In other words, we want to be able to shut down that adrenaline, that cortisol quickly if we can. So once we're in the fight or flight mode, we want to find a way to shut it down as quickly as possible. And one of the ways we do that is we have another little switch inside of us. And this is this particular nerve that we're going to speak about today, or this set of nerves and this nervous system that we're going to speak about, right? So these two axes that we spoke about, axis one being the button that you press immediately. I don't know why Siri wants to speak, I apologize. And then the second axis, we can shut them off when and if we can, as soon as the event has taken place. So as soon as we've got into the fight or flight mode, if we can find a way to quickly shut it down, right? If we can find a way to put a lid on it, almost to switch another switch, we're really going to help ourselves not get into the cycle of chronic stress. So how do we do that? Very simply, we go to Vegas. We go to Vegas. That's right. Me and you, we're going to Vegas. Bye. Come, we're going to Vegas. No, not that Vegas. No, not that Vegas. A different Vegas. A Vegas that has got to do with something we call the vagus nerve. So let me introduce you to our vagus nerve. Here we go. Okay, let's go to Vegas. There we go. Okay, so what is the vagus nerve? Okay, this is actually the vagus nerve. Okay, so it's a nerve, and it's one of the longest and most influential nerves in our body. And it exists in our skull, and it starts from just behind our eyes, and then it descends vertically along the front of your throat into the chest cavity, all the way down into the abdomen, and almost sort of, you'll see that it ends almost at the very bottom of our diaphragm. Now, this nerve is the direct interface between the brain and key organs, like, for example, the heart. You see on that diagram, it's connected to the heart. You'll see that it's connected to the lungs in very integrated ways. It's connected to the entire digestive, it's a Monday, digestive tract as well. And it goes all the way down underneath the lungs as well to the diaphragm. And it's, I mean, look at it, right? It's a lovely, lovely little nerve. I'm looking at the page of a lovely little nerve with a whole bunch of stuff happening. So this, some people call the wandering nerve because it wanders throughout our body, and its primary role is synchronicity between the body and the brain. So its job is to speak, body, brain, it's the little communication pathways between that. And it's sort of best recognized, if I can call it that, for its attributes of calming the body following the fight or flight. So the fight or flight is over, and now the vagus nerve helps, it kicks in, and it just moves things around, and it calms things, and it helps us get back to that level of calm, normality, lower the cortisol levels, lower the adrenaline levels if we can. And this bad boy does a lot of that work. So it's a very important nerve for us to begin to think about, and maybe can we hack it and find a way to manipulate it? Can we do that? That's what we're going to try to do today. We're going to find ways in which manipulating that nerve to help us. So medical research tells us that the stronger what they call your vagal tones, the quicker the body can normalize following perceived stress or perceived threats. So this, what it also does, just by the way, is it also helps with those oxytocins we spoke about. So it helps send levels of oxytocin, which helps douse a lot of these things. So it works in conjunction with the oxytocin, sending the tones to say, listen, we need to calm the body down. Everything's going to be all right. So we're going to speak about this today. And this is the book that I want to tell you about. It's a book that we have used. A lot of what we're going to sort of speak about today comes from this book. It's called Stress Proof, The Game Plan by Richard Sutton. He has got many, I think he's got another book that he's written about stress. He is fantastic. If you can get your hands on this, if these last few conversations me and you've had have been of interest, then please do yourself a favor and get Richard's book. So a lot of what we're going to speak about today comes from Richard. So thanks, Rich. It's really fantastic. Okay, so Rich said, and I really love this, he says, the primary reason why athletes stretch, and I don't know if you've ever been an athlete where you've gone for a run or, at school. Remember at school, we had to stretch, and I hated stretching, man. It's the worst, right? And he says the principal reason why you stretch is to restore tired muscles to their normal resting length. So in this way, it strains of exercise are reduced and the benefits are enhanced, he says. Now, he says, in the same way, the activation of the vagus nerve following stressful periods rapidly brings your body and mind back to the state of balance, reducing the potential for adverse effects. So it's almost like stretching. And the nice thing about it is there's a few ways in which me and you are going to stretch today, and you're going to see that it's not that complicated. It's actually quite easy to be able to do this. So it's quite lekker. It's not like those hamstring stretches that hurt us, right? This is quite a lot of fun. And there's a few of the things here that I love. I'm like, oh yes, I need to do more of that. So I really love this. So just to summarize again, what we're speaking about here is there is a nervous system, and there is a nerve that sits in that nervous system. Its name is the vagus nerve, and it is a very helpful nerve. If we can trigger it during stressful situations, it rapidly brings our body and mind back to a state of balance, which helps us deal with stress. And we've seen that chronic stress is probably one of the biggest causes for our mental health issues that we have today. So we really want to work on this. And so these are an important list of ways in which we do that. So how do we stimulate this nerve? How do we do that? Okay, so there are technically 8 ways in which we stimulate this nerve. There are other ways, but these are sort of the 8 most popular, most common ways of which we stimulate this nerve. The first one is called visceral manipulation. The second one is called massage therapy. I think you've heard about that before. Controlled breathing exercises, going for a swim, cold water facial immersion. Yeah, we're going to speak about each of these. A little bit of yoga, a little bit of meditation, and music. All of those things, and you don't need all 8 of them. And I guarantee you that there is something in these 8 that you're going to enjoy. There's something that you might say to yourself, oh yes, I like that. I want to do that. So let's try and figure out and find one of these 8 things, 2 of these, 3 of these, 4 of these that are going to help you when you're in incredibly stressful situations to delve straight into them, to use them, to work them into your week, to make sure that when you are going through very stressful situations, that you do one of these 8, 2 of these 8, 3 of these 8. Why? Because they stimulate that vagus nerve. And once they've stimulated that vagus nerve, this helps us deal with stress. This obviously is going to in turn make us happier, healthier, not as depressed and not as anxious. Let's start with visceral manipulation. So I'm going to ask you, if you're really interested in this, to literally Google visceral manipulation. Not now, but I'm going to ask you to do it because it's really technical. It's a really interesting practice. It's quite a new practice. There are doctors all over the country. I think we've got 2 in Johannesburg that do it. I looked up and there seems to be some in Windhoek as well, in Namibia that deal with it. So there are people around the African continent and specifically in the South where a lot of you are that do this kind of work. Physiotherapists have started incorporating this into their work, and it's a genuine manipulation of that nerve. So they are physically coming into your body and they're manipulating the nerve. Sorry, they're pushing in particular ways. So I've gone for a session because I was really interested, and it's extremely subtle. She's touching me and she's moving me in particular ways, but it doesn't feel like she's doing much. But what she's doing is she's working with the nerves. She was particularly interested in a part of the nerve with me, and she was saying, this is where she's feeling a lot of the tension, and so she was sort of manipulating that, and it's a fascinating thing. She's got two hands on you, or he, the doctor, and they are manipulating this particular nerve, and this is very, very good for lots of chronic stress. So if you are struggling from chronic stress, Richard Sutton says to us, go do some visceral manipulation once a week, if not bi-monthly. So now I go every second month and I go and see her. We speak about what I'm struggling with. We speak about where we're at. And it's very much like a physiotherapy type thing. So go check it out, visceral manipulation. I'm not going to say much more about it because I don't know. I've read quite a lot of it in this book and in Richard's other book, but I don't quite know what's going on. But I did go to one and it sounds cool. So go check it out, visceral manipulation. Okay, the second one we all know very, very well, massage therapy. Yeah, massage therapy. I love this because have you noticed when we spoke about dopamine, when we spoke about serotonin, when we spoke about oxytocin over the last few weeks, each time massage comes up. Did you notice that? And I said we're going to speak a little bit about it specifically today. So massage therapy dramatically increases vagus nerve activity. And any massage we're speaking about, Swedish massage, hot stone massage, as long as it's full body, as long as they are working the back, working the front. So I know that some massage therapies don't work the front. You have to work the front. So let them work the front, work the back of the throat. There's even specifically, if you speak to your massage therapist, if she or he just lightly massages the front of our throat, lightly does it. I know that that's usually not something that they do, but this is very good for the vagus nerve. So what's interesting about massage therapy, particularly and specifically about this vagal activation, as they call it, is that 49% in the research results in what they call gastric motility, which helps to enhance nutrient absorption. And the reason why I'm mentioning that is, again, when we're very stressed, it's part of our body that shuts down. Because why? Because the body doesn't need, the brain says to the body, listen, you don't need to digest food, bro. You're busy trying to survive, right? There's a lion coming to you. You don't need the energy, you don't need the blood supply, you don't need the oxygen supply in working on the digestive system. So the digestive system really struggles when we're very, very stressed. And so this is a fantastic way, 49% increase in enhanced nutrient absorption. Very fantastic. And that's part of the reason why I wanted to just mention that stat. So it really is fantastic. So Richard says he suggests a weekly massage, specifically when we are stressed. Even do 2 if you are very stressed, lots of work to do. It's one of those weeks you're launching a new product, you know how those weeks go, right? If you know it's coming up, book 2 massages. Book one on the Tuesday morning after the Monday when it's crazy. Book one on the Thursday morning or the Thursday afternoon, but go and do it. He also says moderate to lighter pressure. And then he says, don't be afraid to speak to your massage therapist and say, listen, this is what I'm doing. I'm restoring biological balance into my body. I definitely want it in the front as well. If you can maybe have a little massage on the throat, they'll know exactly how to do that. They'll know what to do. And you can go to any massage therapist and they'll be able to help you do that. So it's a fantastic way if you're super stressed to go and get massage. Go and get a massage. And like I said, remember, oxytocin, boom. Serotonin, boom, all of these things, fantastic in helping us with a healthy mind. So go and get a massage when you are stressed, please. Okay, the next one, swimming. Can you believe this? So there are 2 reasons why swimming works, right? And the thing about swimming is that, I don't know if you've experienced this, but when you dive into a cold pool and that feeling, that grasp, that shocking moment, that is the moment that activates this nerve. That's a very good moment. So what you want to do is you want to actually dive into water. Then what's happening with this vagus nerve, and again, we don't have to go much into it, but when we are swimming, we are holding our breath far more than we are with any other activity. So if we're running, we're not, but if we're swimming, and what he says we should do is that we should swim underwater for periods of that swim. So hold your breath. Hold your breath is very helpful to activate the vagus nerve. And then finally, he says the coldish water. So not warm, don't go to the hot springs. I know a place in Namibia when I walked the Fish River Canyon. I remember this. They had this beautiful hot springs at the end. That doesn't work. Okay, the water's got to be cold. So it's got to be nice and cold, and you've got to go, and I'm going to explain to you why, but you've got to make sure that you put your head under the water. So 3 rules of swimming. Make sure that you jump in and you have that moment. Make sure that you swim and hold your breath sometimes, and then make sure that you put your head under the cold water. He says go and do this once or twice a week, specifically when you're super stressed. In the evening, instead of going to the gym and doing weights, go and swim. It's a highly effective way to help us deal with stress. 30 minutes is the optimum amount of time. Try to swim underwater, like I said. Try to make the water a little bit cool. Okay, the next one is really, really fascinating. It's called cold facial immersion. Now, the reason why this is so fascinating is because those nerves sit behind the eyes, they move a little bit to the front, and then they move down and then along into the body. So what happens is if we immerse our face in cold water, it triggers those nerves, and this helps calm everything down. So in my last job, I had a very stressful moment that I had to attend to. And just before I did that, it was actually when I was resigning. It was super stressful, right? What I did is I went and I filled up luckily we were working from home, and I filled up the basin with water. I made sure that it was about 4 degrees Celsius, and I immersed my face for about 20, 30 seconds, up again, 20, 30 seconds, up again, 20, 30 seconds, up again. I dried it, put some cream on, and went into the conversation with the boss at the time, and I resigned. But it was a very stressful situation for me, and it is amazing how well this works. It is incredible. You've got to try it. If you are at work and you're going through a very stressful situation, you now can't be going to put your face in water, right? So ice packs work really effectively. Pop them in your face, 1 to 3 minutes. It works, friends. It genuinely works. So cold facial emission works really well. Okay, the next 2 we've spoken about. Again, yoga, very effective. And the reason why is because yoga is using a lot of these twists, these turns, these bends, and they're manipulating and moving the actual nerve themselves. So Pilates works in the same way. Yoga and Pilates, really good for activating that nerve. So if you can get a yoga session in when you're really stressed, go and do it. And then remember the first session, day 1, where we did brain gym, or was it day 2? Might have been day 2. We went to the brain gym. That was mindful meditation, extremely helpful to activate this nerve. So if you can do that when you're stressed, do it, do it, do it. Then one of my favorite ones is music. Yeah, it's music. True story. It's music. So let's talk about this music. What music should we be listening to help activate this nerve? Well, pretty simply, the music that we should be listening to is music that has beats per minute, 60 to 80 beats per minute. Okay, 60 to 80 beats per minute. That's what you're looking through, or that's what you're looking for. What is 60 to 80? You can just Google some of your favorite songs. This is one of mine, Chasing Pavements from Adele. That's 60 to 80 beats per minute. She has another one if you're a fan of the Beyonce. You know this song? Let me forward it a bit for you. Yeah, it's a good track, right? Beyonce, Halo. This is 80 beats per minute. Okay, so 60 to 80 beats per minute is the optimum beats per minute that you want to listen to help you calm the nerves. I know. I smile about this because it's like, what? Yes, the nerves. Okay, genuinely, this works. What else? Well, so to increase the vagal activity, enjoy slow tempo at 60 to 80 beats per minute, melodic music. Try to do this for at least, we've written it over there, 30 minutes a day. Okay, so 30 minutes a day, that's what you're looking at trying to do while Beyonce is in the background. And then they also recommend, or Richard specifically recommends, that research says to us, and maybe our friend, she's shouting at us. Yeah, let's switch her off quickly. All right, Beyonce, there we go. Apologies, let's go back to sharing this. There we go. Thanks, Beyonce. That was lovely. He also recommends 30 to 45 minutes before you go to bed, put on some classical music in the background and just enjoy it. So 30 to 45 minutes before you go to bed, classical music is the best. Slow tempoed classical music, just put it on the background, just enjoy it. It's genuinely going to help that nerve. So go and do that. Okay, and the final one is deep breathing. There it is on your screen, deep breathing. And I'm going to teach you this technique Now it's extremely helpful. Part of the reason why it's helpful is because those nerves we spoke about, they sit and they touch the diaphragm, and they also touch the inside of our rib cage. And so when we breathe in and we breathe out, but deep, long breaths, they stimulate this nerve. And this is why when we start the session, we breathe together. When you do any of these sessions of Mindful Revolution or with a psychologist, you'll see they'll ask you to breathe in and breathe out, right? The reason why they do that is because that triggers the nerve, and it immediately sends oxytocin to the brain. It immediately helps you calm down. Deep breathing is very, very effective. Lots of research on this, and the number one breathing technique they have come out with this is, they call it the 5-5. So it's box breathing. I want you to imagine box breathing, right? So what you do is you lie down on bed just before you go to sleep, for example, or you can do it as you wake up in the morning or in the middle of the day. And what you want to do is you want to lie down in a very comfortable position, and then you want to breathe for 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. So that's the box, right? 5 seconds in, 5. And you want to do this, you want to start doing this for 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. And then you want to, for example, extend that to about, if you can, 10 to 20 minutes a day. 10 to 20 minutes a day. So let's just do one quickly together, right? So I'm going to count for you, and we're not going to take any position. We don't have much time together, but I want you to just take a moment, and we're going to breathe this together, all right? So we're going to breathe in for 5 seconds. So let's go. And then I want you to breathe out for 5 seconds. And then we're going to breathe in again for 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And breathe out for 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, 5. And breathe out, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so that's the box breathing that we're speaking about. Very effective in energizing our vagus nerve. So let's go through these 8 just quickly. If you're going through extremely stressful situations right now, whatever it is, if it's a work situation, if it's a grief situation, if it's something that you are really struggling with, this is a very effective way to help shut down a lot of those physical things that are happening in our body. And there are 8 very effective ways to do that. The visceral manipulation, go for a massage. Friends, right now, book yourself a massage. Go and get a massage. During very stressful weeks, try to do 2 of those massages. Just go and book them off. Make sure you have them in your diary. Make sure you go for them. If not, once a month, perfectly fine. The best exercise when you're super stressed is go for a swim. Effectively get that head under the water, make sure you're holding your breath, and make sure you jump into the water with that moment. Really, really helpful. What you could also do is literally take your face and shove it in cold water. About 4 degrees Celsius for about 30 seconds works very effectively. Yoga, when you are very stressed, if you can't swim, go and do some yoga. If you can do both, good job. If you can get to that brain gym we spoke about on day 2, go and do that as well. Listen to music that is 60 to 80 beats per minute, just 30 minutes a day, do it. And before you go to bed, put on some classical music. When you are very stressed, when you're going through very difficult times, from grief to terror to fear, whatever it is, get that classical music on for 30 minutes before you go to bed. And finally, just before you go to bed, a really good practice is that deep breathing, and do the box breathing. 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out, 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. Sit through that and try to sit through that for 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. And it's such a lovely way to end your day. You've got classical music playing on in the background, and you and maybe even your partner are practicing that box breathing. You're breathing deeply into your diaphragm and deeply out. And this is genuinely effective. Okay, good stuff. I hope that helped, friends. I'll see you again tomorrow, when we will discuss more of these ways of which we can move to a healthier mind. It's day 11 tomorrow. I'll see you then. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye, everyone.